You ask for Italian suit makers, you get Italian suit makers. The request was a bit more about my actual opinion than just a list of recommendations, so I'm gonna share my takes on some of them. So we're gonna start off with Zegna. I've been a very long time customer of Zegna. They're responsible for probably 70% of my wardrobe. I can only say good things about them, yes. Price is definitely a factor, but you're buying a luxury brand. One of the key reasons why I stuck to their suits is because their ready to wear fits me almost perfectly. The only thing I always have to get altered is the sleeve length. And their Sumisura service, which I have indulged a lot in, has a turnaround time of about 2 weeks if you're in Europe, which is almost unbeatable, especially when you consider that their Sumisura entails a considerable amount of handwork. Let's start off in Parma with Caruso. They make arguably some of the best Italian suits on a craftsmanship to price ratio. You're gonna get details that you can only find on bespoke tailoring otherwise, such as a Milanese buttonhole. Their fabrics are mostly between Super 120s and Super 150s, either from English mills or Loro Piana. And if Caruso's ready to wear fits you, there's probably no better option for you in the market. And with Canali. Canali, in my opinion, very similar but also very different from Zegna. I've always wanted to try and like their suits. It's never really quite worked out for a myriad of very strange and weird reasons. But if you're going with Canali, the Capri cut is probably the most interesting pattern that they're making, because you get a broad lapel, a fairly light construction, so it's a very healthy blend of like structured northern Italian tailoring and this sort of leggerissimo and a bit more flamboyant southern Italian flair that you get from Neapolitan tailors. Next we have Sartorio. Now some of you may know Sartorio is now owned by the Paone family, which are the descendants of the Keaton founder. Sartorio is a much younger brand that also comes in a much lower price point than Keaton, but they bring the essence of Neapolitan tailoring to a much broader audience. I really like them. I bought 2 sports jackets from them. They're very easy, very light to wear. They have very interesting and colorful fabric if you want this like southern Italian tailoring style, but don't want to shell out Isaia or Keaton money. Sartorio, you're not gonna find a better presentation of Neapolitan tailoring. Then with Corneliani was my sort of entry point into like Italian tailoring. They produce rock solid suits. The fabrics are not too delicate, usually around the 17 to 18 micron range, meaning you can really wear those suits a lot without having to worry about them. They've also recently entered a partnership with Trilux, so they're gonna focus a lot more on the American market with a lot more like tailored, literally tailored offerings for American customers. But it's going to be interesting to watch how this is going to affect the brand and shape it over the coming years. Now, if you want the sort of epitome of Italian tailoring and ideally also have the time to get it commissioned through a bespoke offering, Keaton. The amount of handwork that goes into Keaton jackets and the fabrics that they source with cashmere that's below 13 microns is just on an entirely different level than all the other brands on this list. It is also the company that is responsible for the world's most expensive suit offering. The K50 is a suit of which only 50 are produced each year. And they start at around $10,000 and can range up to $100,000 per suit. The reason for the name lies in the fact that it takes 50 hours to make one of these suits. A traditional Keaton suit takes about 20 hours to make. We're going to stay in Naples for a little bit and move over to Cesare Ottolini. There's a lot of debate going on whether the construction and handwork at Ottolini is better than at Keaton. I'm not the judge of that because to me the fit and fabric come before the amount of handwork, even if the handwork impacts the overall comfort that you're gonna have. I'm never gonna look inside any of my jackets, or if it happens, it's too rare of an occasion for me to actively take this into consideration. If you don't like the Keaton energy, maybe Cesare Ottolini is more than competitive in its offering. Fabrics, however, are not going to be as delicate and as fine as what Keaton or Zegna has to offer. But the house style and the cut and the details are in a league of their own. Now we're still in Naples with Ruminacci. I have 2 of their sports jackets. Great tailoring, very leisure. They have a very interesting fabric archive that you can also purchase fabric from online if you want to go the bespoke route. It's just overall a lovely brand that makes great suits. And we're gonna wrap up this stint in Naples with Isaia. A very colorful, very luxurious fabrics. A lot of handwork goes into this. Personally, not my cup of tea. This is for me the definition of golf course American middle manager. A product, but that's just not me. Now we have Davensa. If you're familiar with the Italian tailoring landscape, you may know that Davensa was actually bought by Brunello Cucinelli in 2014, but only the factory and the employees, not the brand name. The brand name is now being revived under a different ownership, and at the time the reason for Cucinelli buying them was not only the fact that it was basically a turnkey solution to starting their own suit production, but Davensa was also infamous for making arguably the highest quality suits outside of Naples, because Davensa is located in Carrara. That's where the marble also comes from. The brand is on track to double its headcount, wants to expand production, and also is launching a women's offering. So I am just genuinely excited to see this brand come back to life, and I have very high hopes for them to actually produce garments that are as good as what Davensa originally stood for. This list wouldn't be complete without Brioni. The Roman tailor makes some of the best suits known to man, there is no question about this. Brioni is one of the few brands that defies the law of diminishing returns, because you can really feel the difference when wearing a Brioni suit. Then we have one honorable mention that I usually reserve for Substack, but I want to point out Eleventi. Eleventi Milano is a fairly young brand that doesn't produce anything in-house. They work with factories all over Italy. But I've tried their suits on occasion. The trousers are a bit too skinny for my liking, but the jackets are incredibly well made. They use fantastic fabrics. It's sort of a firm take on Neapolitan tailoring, if that makes any sense. That makes sense to some of you, meaning that the overall jacket construction feels a lot more pulled together. And I'm definitely going to keep an eye out, and maybe if they start having wider leg openings, and maybe when their trousers start to become less skinny, I'm going to pick up one of their suits, because the fabric reserve was not there to allow the trousers to be adjusted to my liking. This is my hot take on Italian suit brands. Till next time, stay cozy.